You guys can pass those out whenever you get a moment. I want you to think about someone in your life that is annoying. Someone that's annoying in your life, alright? Not all at once. What's that? Just one person that you know that you're like, I don't ever want to be friends with this person, okay? One person, they could be irritating. Okay, they're your friend already, that's fine. You have friends that are annoying, right? There could be certain things that annoy you, right? Alright, I'm going to give you a little example. So I was living at Tyndale, and I was taking a shower. It's kind of a communal shower, right? And so I'm showering, I'm having a good time, I'm singing in the shower. Because, come on, who doesn't sing in the shower? Who sings in the shower? Preach it. Alright, so singing in the shower, I come out, and my towel's gone. Clothes vanished. It's starting to get cold and naked. Cold and naked. And all I remember hearing is some of the guys like just, we got Sam's clothes! We got Sam's clothes! I'm like, no. Why? Does anybody experience something like that? Anybody do that to anybody else? You're annoying people. Alright. Alright. Last week we talked about, we're on this series called Passion. You guys remember what passion means? Passion means, endure and suffer. For example, alright? You ever be at a concert and it's so hot, you're like sweating buckets, and you're still jumping up and down. You're taking it because you love the music. Has that ever happened before? No? Alright. Of course, see? Some regular people. Do you know that Taylor Swift is coming this Friday? Yes! Shake it out, baby. Alright. Being passionate. Some of you guys are like, Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift, coming. ACC. It's going to be awesome. Alright, anyways. So, what's that? Rogers Center? Are you going to be there for that, Tony?
For both nights.
Both nights. Alright. So, last week we looked at what it means to be passionate for God. What it looks like to be passionate for something that, you know, is eternal in your life. And this week, I want to follow up with that. It says this in Luke chapter 10, verse 27. You guys, everybody has kind of this Bible around you. Again, remember, the reason why we have these Bibles is so that you know that the stuff that I'm saying is legit. It's not like I'm making this stuff up. It actually comes from a text, all right? If you have this hardcover Bible, it's 1706, page 1706. If you have the soft one, it's page 623, all right? It's Luke chapter 10. Luke chapter 10. Verse 27. Alright, it says this. While you guys are looking at that. And keep that there, because we're going to be reading some more. It says this. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and soul and mind, or even with all your passion, with all your soul and all your strength and all your mind, and your neighbor as yourself. The reality is this, okay? It is possible to love your neighbor and not love God. But it's not possible to love God and not love your neighbor. Let me say that again. It's possible to love, you guys all have friends? Who has a friend in here? You guys have a friend in me, alright? Everybody has a friend. It's easy to love that friend. Okay? It's easy. But, if you don't love God, it's impossible to love God and not love your neighbor. Okay, they go hand in hand. It's like this. I am married to my wife, and her parents, once upon a time, didn't like me. And I could have said, it's war. It's on. It's happening. It's going down. But this would have wrecked Esther, my wife. So, I sucked it up. And I learned to love her parents because she loved her parents. If she didn't love her parents, then forget about it, right? But she loved her parents, and so I had to learn to love her parents, and now I do, and they love me, and you know, we're cool, right? They take care of my kids, whatever. Here's the thing. You cannot love God and not love your neighbor. They go hand in hand. It says this. Luke chapter 10, verse 25. There was a lawyer or expert of the law. He stood up to Jesus to test him, saying, "Teacher, what shall I do to inherit eternal life?" So there is a way, believe it or not, to earn eternal life. If you want heaven, there is a way to earn it. He says this. Jesus says, "What is written in the law? How do you read it?" And he answered, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and all your strength, and all your mind, and your neighbor as yourself." So the man says, "You have answered correctly. Do this and you will live." But the man says, "Who is my neighbor? Who is my neighbor?" So Jesus gives a story, a parable. And he says this. A man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho, and he fell among robbers, who stripped him and beat him and departed, leaving him half dead. Now, by chance, a priest was going down that same road. When he saw him, he passed by on the other side. So likewise a Levite, when he came to the place and saw him, passed by on the other side. But a Samaritan, as he journeyed, came to where he was, and when he saw him, he had compassion, went to him and bound up his wounds, pouring on oil and wine. They set him on his own animal or donkey and brought him to an inn and took care of him. The next day he took out 2 denarii, or $200, and gave them to the innkeeper, saying, "Take care of him, and whatever more you spend, I will repay you back when I come back." Which of these 3 do you think proved to be a neighbor to the man who fell among robbers? He said, "The one who showed him mercy." Jesus says, "Go and do likewise." Here's what's happening, okay? You cannot have one without the other. You cannot love God and not love your neighbor. They come in hand. So Jesus gives this parable. He says there was a man, a priest. Back then, a priest was this holy person. There was someone called the high priest, and he was the only person that was allowed going into the most holy place. And in that place, that one person would encounter God. You would think this person is so holy, right? This priest. He sees this man, and the likelihood was another fellow Jewish man. He sees this man, and he walks by on the other side. Then there's something called a Levite. A Levite had this special privilege. They were the only ones that were allowed to carry the Ark of the Covenant. They were privileged people. All right? Privileged people. And you would think this privileged man would come and help this Jewish person, and he crosses by on the other side. And you're like, yo, what jerks? Who's thinking, what jerks? Let's have an honest moment. Like the priest, the Levite, they're supposed to be good people. They're not helping. Who's thinking jerks? Right? Okay. Let me give you kind of the scene. Say there is someone that's sniping off people on top of a roof. He shoots Jesse. Who's gonna be like, let's help him out? And who's gonna be like, I'm out of here? Right? The majority of us might run. Let me set the scene. The road from Jerusalem to Jericho, there's lots of rocks. And it was easy for bandits to jump out, rob people, and jump back into the rocks so that they get robbed, right? And they just leave them however they want to leave them. So you can imagine with me, if you're seeing this man and you're going down the road, you're by yourself, you're thinking to yourself, there's someone here. If I help this man, the likelihood is I might get, beat up as well. Okay, so there's a measure of fear. And so for the priest and the Levite, they had measures of fear. And that's fine. I mean, we have fear in a lot of areas. I I used to live in a condo, and loving someone in my condo was difficult. We'd get into the elevator, and who's ever done this? Maybe in an elevator, or you're in like driver's ed, and you're the only person there. What do? Probably 95% pull out your phone and play Clash of Clans, right? Because was it just me? Right? Or just text, or be like, dude, it's so boring, right? Who's ever done that before? You're out of class, and you're like, the first thing you do is you pull out your phone, because you don't know anybody, right? I'm in the elevator every single day living in my condo, and like sometimes it'd be packed, and I'd be like, right? Why? I don't want to start something new. I don't want to talk with people. it's like, people, am I going to meet this guy again? And there can be a measure of fear. What if this guy, is an axe murderer? Who knows? There can be a measure of fear. And loving your neighbor sometimes has measures of fear. If there's someone that might not be as popular, to love that person might have measures of fear. Measures of fear. Second thing that happens in this story. So the other thing, they had a tradition that if they touched someone who was bloody or about to die or was dead, they would have to cleanse themselves. They would have to cleanse themselves. And so it's like, he's dying already. He's probably going to die. Should I have to take all that time of bringing him over, touching him, and then I have to go through this whole cleansing process? Both of the guys would have to do that. And here's the thing. Sometimes for some of us, we might have a schedule. And we get so busy that, I could love this person, but that's going to take time. That's going to take energy. My schedule, don't you know, I got basketball practice, I got band, I got projects, I'm trying to suck up to the teacher. That doesn't come easy, right? So, some of us have schedules, and that prevents us from loving someone else. There's a pastor from a church called Austin Stone. His name is Matt Carter. And he talked about these things. He said, sometimes it's fear, sometimes it's scheduling, sometimes it's just, I'm not going to take the energy to deal with this. But the story continues. There's a Samaritan man. Now, some of you guys might not know this, but Samaritan men, or women, Samaritans in general, were like the most hated race. Jewish people would actually be walking to a destination. If they had to pass through their homeland, Samaria, they would cross over water, move up, and then cross back over water so they wouldn't have to run into Samaritans. That's how much they loved them. They hated them. This is how much they were like, please, I don't even want to be in the same presence as a Samaritan. There's a Samaritan man that comes. And he shows sympathy, but more than that, it says this. He had compassion. Compassion. Meaning compassion is sympathy for those who are enduring suffering. So we talk about passion is suffering and enduring suffering. Sympathy is, compassion is having sympathy for those that are enduring suffering. So this man, the Samaritan man, comes and sees this probably Jewish man and says, I'll help you out. Not only does he help him out, but he goes the extra mile. And Jesus says, who do you think showed that man love? And said the Samaritan. And he's saying, you have labeled the Samaritan in a certain way because of the people above you have told you Samaritans are bad. And you have labeled them and you have outcasted them. And you didn't even know his story. You don't even know what he's like. I'm going to show you one of my most favorite YouTube videos. It's a little bit morbid, but I'm going to show it anyways. If you can roll it.
Worn out faces, bright and early
guys ever see that one before? Anyways, here, the reason why I like that song that's in the background, it says this: all around me are familiar faces, worn out places, worn out faces, bright and early for their daily races, going nowhere, going nowhere. Their tears are filling up their glasses, no expression. Hide my head, I want to drown my sorrow, no tomorrow. And I find it kind of funny and kind of sad. The dreams in which I'm dying are the best I've ever had. When people run in circles, it's very, very mad world. Children waiting for the day they feel good. Happy birthday. And I feel the way that every child should sit and listen. Went to school and I was nervous. No one knew me. Hello, teacher, tell me what's my lesson. Looked right through me. You ever run into someone that you just think, this guy's weird? And the first thing usually people say is, oh, what's wrong with this guy? Or what's wrong with this girl? What if we were to look into a little bit more of that person? What if little Kiwi was appreciated for what he had instead of what he didn't have? What if he was appreciated for what he had instead of what he didn't have? Do you think he would have taken the jump? It's interesting because he does this all by himself, right? It's not like he has friends that are helping him out. And what if? What do you think it would look like? Because I told you before, you cannot love God and not love your neighbor. What would it look like if we decided to not have a little bit of fear? What would it look like if we chose to go out of our way, out of our schedules, out of our busy lives to help someone? What would it look like if we looked at someone differently instead of saying, man, this guy's weird? What if we were to do a little research and say, man, this guy's had a hard life? Some of us have. Some of us in here have had a hard life. And it's very easy to be like, this guy's weird. That girl's weird. Do you think that if you knew of someone's story afterwards, that you would change your perspective of somebody? In this story, I think of the Samaritan, I think Jesus is telling his own story. He comes to his own people. He comes and he loves them and he does miracles and he, is hanging out with the poor. And he's just shutting down these Pharisees, be like, yo, man, you guys know what you're talking about. And he's helping out mankind. And he's doing great things. And yet there was people, his own people, that hated him. That put him on the cross and killed him. I wonder how many times we do the same thing. Myself included. How many times do we do the same thing to our neighbor? More specifically, how many times do we do this to Christ? Because you cannot love God without loving your neighbor. It's impossible. Once you guys have this little sticky note, and what I want you to do, if you don't have a pen, does everybody have a pen? Where's everybody have a pen? Who doesn't have a pen? Cool. All right. We're going to take a moment and there you go. We're going to take a moment and I want you to close your eyes with me. Close your eyes and I want you to take a moment. And ask the question, who is that person that you might have picked on, treated poorly? Who is that person that you might not have done anything? You're just too busy to hang out with them. Or you might be afraid of what your friends might think of you. Who is that person in your life? I just want you to pick one. I don't want you to pick because some of you guys might be like, yo, I got a list. I just want you to pick one. One person. It could be at your workplace. And you're like, man, this guy's messed up. Why does he talk like this all the time? Or he's kind of weird. Or why does God be so smart all the time? Make these comments. Who is that one person in your life? I want you to write that person down. I don't want you to show anybody. You don't have to show anybody. It's just between you. Just you. Just you. Does anybody else need a sticky note?
I got you.
Where's Samantha? Do you have more sticky notes? Yeah, thank you. Why don't you grab this? If you're done with your pen, if you can pass them around. All right. All right. Shh. Take a moment. Okay? You don't need to be talking because you don't need to be talking. All right? I want you to take a moment. I want you to write down that one person. And what you're going to do with that one person. And you might even hate that person. Okay? You might even think, like, I can never love this person. I'm going to encourage you today. And some of you guys might not know how to pray, and that's fine. Okay? But I want you to say, God, teach me how to love this person. Teach me how to love this person. That's it. I don't want you to be like super spiritual. Just teach me how to love this person. Because, believe it or not, Christ didn't just die for us. He even died for those high priests and Pharisees and Sadducees that made fun of him and put him on the cross. He died for them too. Right? And so, in the same way, who's that one person? Jason's going to lead you in a song, and then I'll wrap it up.